there's no better education than getting out and seeing the world.
The experiences are what you're going to remember in the long run.
Getting out to see the world has just really opened my eyes to a lot of things.
I know a little bit about a lot of random things, and that's because of travel.
We're going to be able to learn so much about some really great destinations.
I'm excited about how this will improve our group itineraries.
I'm really looking forward to having great conversations about places. Welcome to Destination Dispatch.
Hello, I'm Jim Delleman with Group Travel Odyssey. Thank you so much for joining us once again today. And before we get started talking about everything that there is to know about Winnipeg, I do want to remind you, if you've not done so yet, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. And if you also ring the bell, you'll be notified anytime that we have new content on our YouTube channel. Make sure also, if you're on LinkedIn, we're there as well. Group Travel Odyssey. Look for us and like us on LinkedIn. And make sure to like our Facebook page as well. We do a lot on social media. We've got a lot of information out there, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. So make sure you do subscribe, like all the pages as well. Well, today we are going to be visiting our neighbors and friends up north. We're going to be talking a little bit more, a lot more about Winnipeg. And instead of me talking right here by myself, let me bring on our co-hosts as well. Our lead navigator with Group Travel Odyssey, Keith Snowd. Hey Keith.
Jim. Hey.
How's it going?
It's going great. We're enjoying some thunderstorm activity here in Florida today, so that means that it's a little cooler outside when I came in from lunch. So
yeah, we were discussing right before we came on air that here in New York it's like 71 degrees, and that's brilliant. I'm loving it. So let's also bring on our other co-host, who is the host of Destinations Beyond Expectations podcast, Stevie G. Hey, Stevie.
Hey, guys. What's up? Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. I know it's a short week for us, but it seems like it's been a long week for us. So,
Stevie G, I just have to laugh because you're so matchy right now. Your shirt, your curtain, your picture on your wall, and your eyes. Like everything matches. Like you're the most coordinated person here today. So I'm very impressed.
He did that on purpose.
Sure. Thank you. You're too kind.
So, gentlemen, have either of you been to our destination today? Have either of you been to Winnipeg?
No.
I have not, no. Have you, Jim?
Wow. So we're all going to learn brand new things today. So, Keith and I just came back from the CITA conference, and this destination, Winnipeg, is going to be our host city next year for CITA. So we're already looking forward to visiting there. And while we were there, we got to hear a little bit more about what they have to offer. And we figured, it's a great destination. It's someplace that, people may not be, it may not be in the front of their minds, but we're going to do a lot to change that today. So let's bring on our guest today, who is the Business Development Manager with Tourism Winnipeg, Sarah Robinson. Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us today.
It's so great to be here.
Wonderful. Well, as I was saying, Keith and I heard a little bit about Winnipeg a couple weeks ago when we were at CITA, and we're very excited about next year already because from what we heard and from what we saw, there's so much going on up there. And one of the things that I wanted to ask, kind of to kick things open here, is for U.S. travelers, what do they need to come up to Canada? What do they need to get to Manitoba?
Of course. So obviously a passport. We're talking a little bit about student travel. Just want to say as well that student groups crossing the land border, if you're under 19 years of age, you actually don't need a passport. So you would just need to show a copy of a birth certificate or some sort of other form of identification. But obviously flying, everybody needs a passport. Right now, we do still have some restrictions in place. So folks do need to be vaccinated to come into Canada by air. And they do need to fill out what we call an Arrive Can app. So it's a really simple process. Essentially, you download an app and you just have to fill out some information. For example, where you're staying in Manitoba, and your vaccination documents. So that's at the moment. Things are changing so fast. So, depending on, for example, if you're coming to CITA next year, that may change already. But that's what we, right at the moment is you can expect.
It may change several times by the time CITA happens next year. So.
Exactly.
Well, let's hope it changes for the good.
Yes.
We're only moving up. Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, when we were there, I know, and one of the things that was explained is about your new logo and stuff that you have. And I just found that so interesting as to how that was created and kind of the symbolism that's actually in that logo.
Yeah, thanks for asking. We're really excited about this brand new launch of the brand. It's made from what's real. Winnipeg made from what's real. And it really, is an ode to our, quirkiness and us being really authentic and different, and exactly what the tagline says, made from what's real. The symbol, kind of the logo that we use, if you look at it, it's meant to represent many different things depending on your perspective, which is what we wanted. So it may look like a W and an M for Winnipeg, Manitoba. It may look like a snowflake falling in the sky. It may look like a prairie sunrise, which we're really known for our beautiful prairie sunrises. So it really just encapsulates everything that Winnipeg is all about.
Fantastic.
Well, it really is neat, because every time I see it, I see something different. And it's even one of the things you mentioned I didn't see, but now I see it.
That's what it's meant to do.
That's wonderful. It's great branding. And you were talking about earlier before the show about the quirkiness, and that there's lots of different stories that really come out of Winnipeg and the history of Winnipeg. So, and you had said James Bond was even one of them. So I'd love you to expand a little bit upon that, because I don't think people understand the depth of history that Winnipeg really represents, including your earrings. Have a good story behind them. So I'm gonna bring that up.
Okay, so maybe I'll start with James Bond. James Bond, actually the original spy, the real life spy. So obviously James Bond is a fictional character, but the actual real life spy was a Winnipegger, and his name was Sir William Stevenson. So he was a spy during World War I, and all of the things that he did is what Ian Fleming kind of used and used to inspire him writing the books and creating the character James Bond. So there's actually a statue of Sir William Stevenson at Langley in the US, which is the ode to James Bond.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing. That's
so
awesome.
It's really cool. I know a lot of people don't know that. So that's a fun fact. And then, my earrings, for all of those shoppers out there, it's a local Indigenous artist. So specifically a Métis artist. So if you're not familiar with what Métis is, we are home. Manitoba is home of the Métis Nation. So we have a really strong fur trade history. That goes back to when we were one of the major hubs for the Hudson's Bay Company, as well as the Northwest Company. So this was kind of the rivalry companies of the English and the French. And so essentially going back to this, it was the blending of the Europeans coming over and the Indigenous people that already existed in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And this blending of cultures created the Métis Nation. So these earrings are, local Métis artist. She's actually a very young girl. She's in her early 20s and she's extremely talented. So we have a lot of beautiful local Indigenous goods here in Winnipeg that you can find very easily.
And that goes back hundreds of years, right? I mean, that's and speaking of that, like when was Winnipeg founded? I mean, how?
Yeah, so I mean that goes back. So essentially, we have 6,000 years of history, and I want to, and I want to really stress that, because I think that when we think about Canada in general, we think that Canada goes back, 150 years, more or less with Canada. And we have to remember that 6,000 years ago, there were Indigenous people trading here. So it's a really, really long history. And so we have an area called the Forks. It's a National Historic Site. It's absolutely stunning. It's really a gathering place. And we call it a gathering place because 6,000 years ago, Indigenous people traded at the Forks. It was a really hub of trade, and they've done digs and excavations at that Forks area and found, pieces of pottery, and that's how we know that history existed. So, it's really, really important to stress that. Later on, we became a really important hub of the fur trade, as I mentioned, and so that's when a lot of the Europeans came over. And then we became a really important hub for, cross-Canada distribution on the train. So we were a really important stop on the train. And that's why our population just boomed. People were coming to Winnipeg from everywhere because you could get here fairly easily. We're right in the center of Canada. We're right in the center of the continent. And so it was just this hub of activity. And we were known as the fastest growing city in North America. So for that reason, we just have this blending of, different cultures, and we have a blending of architecture. If you love architecture, our architecture is phenomenal because we have this mix of, Chicago style like architecture in our National Historic Site Exchange District. We have modernist buildings. Just a blending of architecture. So it really is just this mishmash of cultures and history, which is really, really fun.
Yeah. Wow.
So Sarah, before we went live, you were chatting about how you guys are still enjoying the last, a stretch of really good weather still in Winnipeg. Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you, what should groups know about the weather in Winnipeg throughout the year? And when is, I guess, the more popular times for groups to visit Winnipeg?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. So I think, being up in Canada, we have, this reputation of being cold 12 months of the year. And that can't be further from the truth. I mean, today, for example, we're at, I have to fully admit, I had to Google this from Celsius to Fahrenheit, but it's 75 Fahrenheit here today. So a beautiful fall summer day. We can get into the even 100 in the summer. So beautiful, warm, humid weather. Obviously, that doesn't last for too long. A couple months of the years when we're really hot, but we have beautiful falls, beautiful springs. Most popular time, I would say, is the summer because of our beautiful summers. And there's so many festivals going on and things to visit. But our winter tourism is increasing, and I gotta say I love it because I was convinced about winter when you can run down a frozen river in January or February, but you have to be tough. You have to be very tough. But there is some very unique, beautiful things that you can do when it is cold and when rivers freeze. And so we have one of the longest skating trails in the world. And I'm not a skater, but I'm a runner. And so, running down a frozen river in January or February and seeing the city from a completely different perspective is just such a beautiful, unique thing that you can't do in many cities. So I would encourage people to come in January and February. We have a wonderful winter festival called Festival de Voyageurs. It's our French festival. It celebrates the voyageurs. It celebrates our fur trading history. And, you can have maple taffy. You can make in the snow. I'm sure you've seen this before, where you roll the maple taffy in the snow and you can have almost like a maple taffy popsicle. They have snow sculptures. There are bands playing in heated tents. I'll stress the heated tents. So you won't be cold. You can go snowshoeing. I mean, it's just a wonderful, exciting time of year in the winter.
That sounds amazing. It really
does sound amazing.
For groups that are coming in, I know we already talked about the documentation and stuff that they need. How easy is it for them to get up to you?
Yeah, so we're actually, believe it or not, we're only 1 hour away from the U.S. border. So we're quite close in that aspect. Obviously, Canada is a massive country, as is the US, but we are right above North Dakota and Minnesota, to give you kind of a perspective, but only an hour away from that border. So you would be entering into Emerson, Manitoba. So that's through, Pembina, North Dakota, if you're coming by land. We're about a 7-hour drive from Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is the kind of closest major city in the US. But then you can fly as well, obviously. So Delta Airlines flies to Winnipeg from Minneapolis, as well as Los Angeles. There's a WestJet flight. So, and then obviously major hubs into Toronto, Calgary, Vancouver. So depending on where you're coming from the US, those are some major hubs that you can fly from as well.
Great.
So Sarah, first of all, I have to say I did lie at the beginning because I had forgotten. I have been to Winnipeg, but I don't count it because I was on the train from Toronto to Vancouver, and it was just a long stopover, and I didn't make it outside of the train station. So it doesn't count. So anyway, but I have been there. So, but I wanted to ask you what, and I love to ask this question just because what is, you've been in your role for a while, and you know Winnipeg like the back of your hand. What is the thing that groups don't do that they should do when they come to Winnipeg?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there's so many things that definitely you should do. I mean, besides our museums, we have our, fabulous museums. We haven't gotten into yet, the museums and the galleries that are really the draw, to come to Winnipeg. But as I mentioned before, like, come in the winter. It's a really unique experience to come into the winter. Come, during Festival de Voyageurs, which is just like absolutely amazing. Fort White Alive is this, haven in nature. It's this massive kind of eco outdoor space where you can go snowshoeing and skating on the river, and it's just absolutely stunning. The other thing that I would say, if you're not, ready for winter, would be, if you want to come in the summer, is our festival. So we actually call summer festival season. There's so many different festivals to choose from. There's our Winnipeg Jazz Festival. There's our Winnipeg Fringe Festival. Really kind of popular for groups is Folklorama. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Folklorama, but it's the world's longest running cultural festival. And essentially there's about 40 different cultural pavilions that pop up throughout the city in August, and you can visit one of Winnipeg's many different cultures. So they have food that represents the culture. There's a show. There's a little marketplace where you can buy, souvenirs to take home as well. And this happens every single August for about 10 days. Now, if you're not available to come in August, they work all year round, and they can really host your group and essentially either come to your hotel, or they can do a pop-up event in a different venue and kind of bring Folklorama to you. So this is something definitely that I would add to a group itinerary, because it's you learn about Winnipeg, you learn about all of our cultures. There's food, there's entertainment. It's kind of like a one-stop shop experience that is really unique and doesn't really happen anywhere else in the world. So I would definitely do that, and then take in some of our arts and culture as well. We're known as the cultural cradle of Canada, and that's because we're home to Canada's Royal Winnipeg Ballet, the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra, Manitoba Opera, Royal Winnipeg or Royal Manitoba Theatre Centre. So make sure, and they all offer group tickets, so you can see some amazing arts and culture institutions for a really affordable price.
Great. I want to circle back to something you said and just ask a question. It relates to what Stevie G asked before about the weather. People are often reluctant to travel during the winter to a northern destination. But those of us, and I will tell you that is a thought that I think comes from those of us who've lived in the Midwest, where during the winter, it's just gray and brown the entire time. And so tell me, in Winnipeg, during the winter, it's a whole different experience in winter when you're in a place that's sunny during the day, and it's a whole different. So can you talk just a little bit more about the weather, but just explain how I feel like the winters in Winnipeg would be different than what we're used to, and that might change your attitude about taking a trip there during the winter time.
For sure. Yeah. And the thing is too, so our winters are very white. We get a lot of snow, so they're not gray. We have probably one of the cities with the most days of sunlight in a year. So keep that in mind. So the grayness just isn't here. Like there's no, sometimes we have cloud cover but for the most part, it actually can be deceiving, because you wake up in the morning and you see this beautiful sun coming through your window and you're like, oh, it must be like a beautiful day outside. And then, you go outside and you're like, oh no, it's cold. Like it's still very, very cold outside. But you have this sun that just like brings you life, right? Like the sun just brings you life. And so It's very bright and sunny. And I think, that's because we don't have mountains in Manitoba. We're a prairie province. So we're very flat. We don't have the mountains, but for that reason, the mountains don't block our beautiful sunlight. So it's bright, it's white, there's lots of snow, and it's great for your overall, overall. Yes, it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. Beautiful place to be in the winter.
I just wanted to, a lot of people here, oh, travel during the winter. Oh, that's disgusting. And I thought that's what you were going to say. And it's not. It's different. The sunlight makes it not gloomy. It's enjoyable.
Absolutely. And another thing to consider too about our clear skies is that, so we actually receive a lot of international guests that come to Winnipeg for a few days before they go up to Churchill, Manitoba. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Churchill, Manitoba, but I'll just quickly mention it. It's located right on the Hudson's Bay, and it's the polar bear capital of the world. So they have a huge concentration of polar bears. There's more polar bears than people that live in Churchill, Manitoba. So people go up there to see the polar bears, but not only are there polar bears, there are beluga whales that come out in July and August. 60,000 beluga whales come into the Hudson's Bay.
Wow.
And then going back to our clear skies, which is what I wanted to preface, is that because of our clear skies, we get some of the most amazing northern lights you're ever going to see in the world. We're located right on the Aurora Borealis. You can actually see them from Winnipeg. If you go further north to Churchill, Manitoba, you're going to see them even better. But it's because of our clear skies why you can see northern lights 300 days of the year.
Oh, wow.
That's impressive. Wow, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's great. So now I'm learning so much, I've got to get on a plane now.
Yeah, great. I'm here.
I don't want to wait a year.
Well, before we just go into this next section here, I did want to ask you about the food scene in Winnipeg and how that looks. How does the food scene look in your area?
Yeah, I'm happy you asked about our food scene. I'm so proud of our food scene. I think we have an amazing culinary food scene. Not only is it diverse, we have so many different types of cultures. We have an amazing restaurant called Feast Bistro, which focuses on our Indigenous cuisine. So using a lot of local products from the land. So it's phenomenal. But in general, just extremely multicultural. We have some celebrated chefs in Winnipeg that have made it to various culinary lists, top 100s and such. One of our chefs, Mandel Hitzer, he owns a restaurant in the Exchange called Deer and Almond. And he's also the brains behind a really cool concept called Raw Almond. So Raw Almond is essentially dinner on the river. Every January, February, he hosts about 20 to 30 different chefs in Winnipeg. They have a pop-up architecturally designed tent on the frozen river, and they have a 3-course gourmet meal. Every night there's about 3 different sittings, and you can buy a ticket to this event and essentially have your group, dine on a frozen river with in an architecturally designed tent with amazing cuisine. And you're not going to be cold. You still have to wear a jacket inside, but they have heaters, and the ice is so thick at that point that you're not going to fall through the ice. So it becomes this unique experience, and the food is just absolutely amazing. So I'm always, boasting about our culinary scene because there's so many different restaurants, small plate restaurants, multicultural restaurants, and everything is just delicious.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I can't wait until next August. So, well, we want to continue this conversation, and we will do so. But first, how about a few words about some of our partners? Stevie?
Group Travel Odyssey would like to take a moment to thank our amazing partners, including Book My Group, Travel Advocates, We Travel, Broadway Inbound, and Fly My Group. These partnerships help make business without boundaries possible, and we encourage our viewers to learn more about these wonderful companies. Now, back to Destination Dispatch.
Thank you for that, Stevie. And we are learning everything that we can possibly learn about Winnipeg. And Sarah, I want to thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn this over to Keith, and Keith and Sarah are going to take us through a sample itinerary for groups that would be traveling up to Winnipeg.
Awesome. This is great. Everybody can see my screen now. We have an itinerary that Sarah sent us. And it's first of all, it's a fantastic itinerary because it's got lots of pictures, really great descriptions. It's awesome. But I want to remind all of our Group Travel Odyssey, our GTO users, that you can access this not only in the Supplier Manager app if you look under Tourism Winnipeg, but you can also go into the Sales Manager app and search under the itinerary, the template itineraries, the trip templates. There's a button on your homepage for trip templates, and search for Winnipeg, and this will already be loaded in for you so that you can just copy it and use it. Makes it super simple and effortless almost. So just let's follow along with Sarah and let her take us through the itinerary as I get a hold of my mouse here. Welcome to Winnipeg. You're on, Sarah. It's your show.
Okay, thank you. Great. Okay, so obviously I always like to start with an introduction tour to the city because it gives you a lay of the land about Winnipeg's history. There's a few suppliers in the city that offer city tours. So there's O Tours, Heartland Tours, Winnipeg Trolley Company. Winnipeg Trolley Company is kind of fun because it's actually a bus, but it looks like an old style trolley, which is what we had, back many years ago. So that one's really fun as well. But one of the things that you can include in your introductory city tour is called the Hermetic Code Tour. This is one of my favorite things to see in Winnipeg. It is so cool. It's essentially a tour of our state building, our Manitoba Legislative Building, all about the architecture. And just to give you a quick background without, giving it away, a Winnipeg scholar, quite a few years ago was walking by the building, saw a sphinx on the top of the roof of the Manitoba Legislative Building, and he questioned why that was there. He went down a rabbit hole, 10 years of his life dedicated to, uncovering the secrets of architecture of the building. And what he did find out is that the architect was a Freemason, and he designed the building to be an exact replica of King Solomon's temple. So it's phenomenal. So definitely do that. So that's, to give you a good start to Winnipeg. You'll go visit St. Boniface, which is our French area. You'll go visit downtown, the National Exchange District as well. So many things to see on your introductory Winnipeg City tour. And then after that, we're going to go visit the Royal Canadian Mint. So the Mint, there's actually two mints in Canada. There's one located in Ottawa and there's one located in Winnipeg. So ours, you can see, is absolutely stunning. It looks like a mountain on the prairies, designed by an architect, Etienne Gabory, who was a Francophone in Winnipeg. And the cool thing about this is that at our mint, we produce all of the circulation coin for all of Canada and more than 75 different countries. So not just for Canada. Fun fact, because I know we have a lot of US, mainly US audience, that we have produced blanks for the US. It's, I know it's illegal to produce coins outside of the US to actually print coins, but when the US has been backed up a few times on coin production, we've produced those blanks for them. So fun fact about the US. Yeah. So that's have an amazing boutique and also a gold bar that everybody loves to try to pick up a heavy gold bar, and it's great Yeah, great for kids and, well, not just kids, adults alike. So yeah, that's a great place to visit. This is super exciting. Moving on to the Royal Aviation Museum of Western Canada. So this actually just opened in May. It's an amazing museum, really, really talking about, the overall industry in Western Canada. 17 exhibits, there's 20 aircrafts. It's essentially in a massive hangar just by the airport. So, if you don't have a lot of time coming in to Winnipeg, and even if you're staying near the airport, this is a 5-minute walk from the airport. So it's something easy that you can just throw into an itinerary before you're heading, to the airport to end off your trip in Winnipeg, for example. And absolutely stunning.
The building itself, just what they've done with the hangar here in the picture, looks amazing.
It is. It's really great. I was actually just there a couple of days ago, taking around someone that had been a flight attendant for 26 years for Quantum Airlines, and like she didn't want to leave. And I was like, "You have to go. You're going to miss your flight." And she just didn't want to go. She couldn't believe it. And it's actually cool because you can get inside. You can go inside an old 1970s Air Canada plane and see like how it used to be. And they had little curtains, and it's really interesting to walk around.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then you're going to end your day at dinner in the Exchange District. So this is a national historic site, just an immaculate kind of neighborhood made up of a whole bunch of Chicago style architecture. I love peasant cookery that I offered as a suggestion here. We have a lot of great restaurants, but peasant cookery is, kind of French Manitoban cuisine, and the building is stunning. It's located inside one of these Chicago style magnificent architectural buildings. So, and they have moules and frites, obviously, mussels and fries, oysters, pasta, and they also offer group dining menus as well.
I was going to say those mussels look amazing.
Yeah,
they're pretty good. Yeah.
Make sure they still have that on the menu when we're there next year, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're
Museum for Human Rights. Now this one really intrigued me when I saw it on your itinerary. This is awesome.
Yeah, so this is one of the reasons why we're so kind of popular with the student market, right? So the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, it's the only museum solely dedicated to human rights education and awareness. So thinking of it as a global human rights museum rather than just focusing on one specific theme about human rights. It's really encompassing people to talk about human rights and what it means to them. So really like a thought-provoking conversation conversation piece when you're at the museum. As you can see by some of these photos, the architecture is absolutely stunning. It was designed by Anton Prida, who is actually an architect from Albuquerque, New Mexico. So, and everything means something. So, looking at the building, it looks like there's two hands essentially being wrapped around the building. That's meant to be the hands of a dove. And, a dove is the international sign for peace. So that's why they chose it. So everything means something. Everything has, a connection to human rights education. And they have amazing student programs as well as adult programming as well. And Explore the Galleries tour will take you through its 11 galleries, and then you have some free time to explore and go up to the Tower of Hope, where you can see the best view of Winnipeg.
Oh, wonderful! This one photo with the stone with the bridges that are crossing here it's amazing.
It's really amazing. Yeah. And again, going back to the architecture and everything meaning something, those ramps are made of alabaster. So alabaster is a stone that is found in Spain, and they chose it because it's known to have healing properties. So all of the ramps are made of this alabaster stone, and it also makes the museum very accessible, which was part of the reason as well, is that the museum has won awards for its accessibility. So you can, peruse the entire museum going up these ramps and not having to worry about stairs.
Wow, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
And then lunch. We can't go another 10 minutes without eating. We got to eat.
Well, exactly. That's my kind of itinerary. So Stella's is just a really great local favorite. You can't go wrong. They have about 7 locations in the city, even though it's a local restaurant, but they've just been, very successful. Everybody loves Stella's, and really just homegrown ingredients, and a great place for groups as well, because they have spacious restaurants that you can dine in and have some delicious food.
Great.
So moving on to the Manitoba Museum. So this is our history museum, which, you can't miss just to learn about Manitoba's, past, present, and future. It talks a lot about our fur trade. One of the highlights includes the Nonsuch. So the Nonsuch was, a full-size 17th century sailing vessel that essentially is what discovered the first fur trading route into the Hudson's Bay Company. And then later on, that's what established that route as being the major route from England to Hudson's Bay, Manitoba, for that fur trade. So it's a really, really important, and you can see the ship in that picture. And actually, they had to bring the ship in, and they built the gallery around the ship. So you can actually see pictures in the museum of this ship coming in. It's full of snow because it came from Seattle on a ship all the way to Winnipeg, Manitoba. It has snow on it because it came during the winter. And then they essentially stood up this ship and built the gallery around it. So it's pretty crazy. And it's also home to the Hudson's Bay Company collection. So this is a really historically significant collection for Canada, and it has over 25,000 pieces. And one of the really cool experiences that you can do as well is like a behind the scenes tour, where you can go up into the vaults, because they clearly can't display all the collection, but you go up into the vaults and you see some pretty cool pieces. And it's a kind of a special tour that is guided by the curator of the collection.
I have a Hudson's Bay wool blanket.
Oh, those are the best.
Yeah. I don't get to use it as much in Florida as I used to.
Yeah, I guess not. Well, we use them all the time here. We really need them. Okay, and then we're going to end off day 2 with just some dinner and free time at the Forks National Historic Site. So I kind of mentioned the Forks before. Not only does this space have a lot of history, but it's just a great place to be, and especially for groups. They have a lot of different food kiosks that you can order something to eat, and it's great for a group's free time. You can give them a couple hours and they can, walk along the river. They have a little kind of splash dash boat tour. It's like a water taxi that you can hop on and hop off. They have a really outdoor, like a fabulous outdoor space. Everything's licensed, so you can grab, a glass of beer or a wine. All of the list has been curated. Lots of local beers. We have about 10 different local breweries in the city, and so they brought in beers from all those different breweries as well. So, yeah, great stop for shopping, for eating, for walking, biking. Just a great way to spend an evening.
Wonderful. Day 3, here we go.
Okay, day 3. So we're going to head to Assiniboine Park and Zoo. So this is such a phenomenal attraction overall. I always like to focus specifically on one exhibit. And the reason why is because it makes the zoo unique. It's called the Journey to Churchill exhibit. It's the most comprehensive Arctic species exhibit in the world, and features Arctic fox, muskox, snow owls, and of course, everybody's favorite polar bears. So what you're seeing in this photo is you can walk through this glass tunnel, which they call the Sea Ice Passage, and you can see polar bears swimming above you. So they jump into the water and you can see them swimming above you. And the really fantastic thing about all of these polar bears as well is that they have been rescued from Churchill, Manitoba, up in the north. So what happened is it's linked very closely with Manitoba conservation. These polar bears perhaps were found without their mothers. They would not survive without their mothers. because they don't have the hunting skills. So they're brought down to the zoo and essentially given a place to live and, kind of essentially used to teach us about polar bear conservation and climate change. And, really it is essentially a teaching zoo, and you can learn so much at the Assiniboine Park Zoo.
Fantastic.
Wow.
So on the same site as Assiniboine Park and Zoo is Canada's Diversity Gardens. This is an attraction that I'm very excited to talk about because it's brand new. The gardens opened up just last year, and the Leaf, which is essentially that almost roller coaster type attraction right at the top of the photo, is opening in November of this year. So not even open yet. Essentially what it wants to do is to tell the cultural stories that exist between plants and people, but they're going to have an indoor waterfall, Canada's largest indoor waterfall, Indigenous gardens, butterfly gardens. So that whole attraction is made up of biomes, indoor biomes that you can walk through, 12 months of the year and really learn about plants and their connection and to people and the history over the years, the importance to people over the years.
Those gardens look beautiful, Sarah. They really do.
They're absolutely stunning. And, we had it in the spring, we had quite a lot of rain. And so just the whole summer, they just became, a beautiful place to walk through in the summer and now in the fall as well with the weather that we're having.
Are those red items chairs that you can sit on?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The
out
traditional
what they were.
Canada chairs, those red chairs that you can
Yes.
see all over in national parks. That's exactly what they are.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Just wanted to make sure I was seeing everything correctly. That's great.
Okay, and so now we're moving on to the Winnipeg Art Gallery and Kamayuk. So that's a mouthful. It's difficult to say. It took me about 6 months to be able to say it. But Kamayuk is the Indigenous word. It essentially means it is bright, it is lit. So beautiful meaning. So this space is the Inuit Art Center of the Winnipeg Art Gallery. It houses the largest collection of Inuit art in the world, 14,000 pieces. So what you're seeing here is as you walk into the gallery, it's this 3-story vault that you can see a good portion of this 14,000 piece collection. And the rest are constantly rotated out in various, curated collections. So it's a stunning attraction that only opened last year, so pretty new. And we're so fortunate to have this. So if you are an art lover, you're not going to find more pieces of Inuit art than right here in Winnipeg.
Great.
And we're going to end off, with Folklorama. So I had mentioned Folklorama, really phenomenal festival. Obviously, it happens in August, which is a little bit more, prohibitive if you're not here in August. But that's why I wanted to mention that any month of the year, Folklorama can come to you. So they can organize food, entertainment. One of their dancers, singers, hoop dancers. You essentially choose which culture you think would be of interest to your group, and they can arrange that to do either a workshop or a show, and then food will be involved. And it's really just a fun way to, get to know Winnipeg and all its wonderful multicultural diversity that we have here.
Great. Well, thank you, Sarah. Amazing. What a great lesson in Winnipeg and learning just how to kind of create an amazing experience. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to see everyone next year in August.
Absolutely.
Yes. We're excited to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the good thing too is that I believe that when CITA does take place, Folklorama will be going on.
Oh, wonderful.
Days. So you'll be able to include it in your personal itinerary.
Fantastic.
That's fantastic. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. If people want more information and want to reach out, how can they reach out and get more information, and how can they contact you as well?
Yeah, of course. So tourismwinnipeg.com is our general website. So that's, the easiest way to just learn all about Winnipeg in general. My email is Sarah, SARAH, at tourismwinnipeg.com. So pretty simple as well. If you're looking more to focus in on what you can experience in Winnipeg for groups, it's winnipeggroups.com. And then, of course, we have, a slew of social media handles. Instagram is Tourism Winnipeg, Facebook, Visit Winnipeg, Twitter is Tourism WPG, and then our YouTube is Tourism WPG. So that's a lot, but I can always send that to you in an email if you're interested in learning all of those handles as well.
That is wonderful. And, we could talk for another hour, I'm sure, and still talk about more things to do. But I have to say, I've learned a lot, and I really can't wait until we can come visit you guys. And, we'll see how many of us are actually going to make it up there. So
the more the merrier. You're all welcome.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Maybe we'll just do our team retreat up there. So
yes, our team retreat has like 40 stops on it now. So.
Road trip.
Well, and keep in mind as well that you have to think of the exchange rate too. That we're about 30%, give or take, cheaper. Right. So you're getting everything in a bit of a discount. So keep that in mind.
Now you're speaking my language, Sarah.
Always a plus. Always a
affordable destination.
Well, Sarah, thank you once again for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. And remember, Destination Dispatch does happen on Thursdays, and we'd love to bring you more information about some really great group-friendly areas and locations that you may not have thought of. And don't forget that the itineraries that we went through today, or the itinerary we went through today, is in the GTO system. So for those of you on the GTO system, you can look in the templates and search for that, and then you can utilize that when you're planning your trip up to Winnipeg, as well as Destination Dispatch on Thursdays at 2. On Tuesdays, we do a program called GTO Coach and Go. And GTO Coach and Go is where we bring on some experts and we give you a bit of information about our GTO system. So for those of you who are GTO users, it kind of gives you pointers and ideas, and we talk about launches of things that are happening within the system as well. That's at Tuesdays at 2 p.m. as well. Keith, if they want more information on Group Travel Odyssey in general, how can they get that?
They can go to grouptravelodyssey.com, or they can go to our YouTube channel and see any of our media, but they can also reach out to Jim, Stevie G, myself, Kara. All of us are on the website under our team, and we'd love to help you learn more about GTO.
Fantastic. And Stevie G, tell us more about Destinations Beyond Expectations podcast.
Yeah, Destinations Beyond Expectations is the podcast designed for students of travel. New episodes come out every Friday. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Or you can visit the website, dbetravel.com. Tomorrow, I'm headed to a destination we recently covered here on Destination Dispatch, a really great destination for groups, Nashville, Tennessee. So that episode will be dropping tomorrow. And yeah, new episodes every single Friday.
Excellent. Well, fantastic. Gentlemen, as always, I love spending Thursdays with you and learning about more fantastic destinations that we're all adding onto our lists. We've got these huge lists of places now that we want to travel to. And but we thank you all for joining us. And I look forward to talking to you again next time. Take care.
Thank you for watching this episode of Destination Dispatch. We invite you to stay connected with Group Travel Odyssey on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and be sure to check out more of our media, including GTO Coach and Go and the Destinations Beyond Expectations podcast. Please visit our website, grouptravelodyssey.com, where you can learn more about GTO and request a demo. Group Travel Odyssey, business without boundaries.